Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George Affleck.
And we have so much to get to today, but I promise I will also get to the pool. I teased that one last week and we never got to it. We're going to talk about Kit's Pool because it was a big day for that pool in City Council and I spoke there. So we'll get into that, but we're going to talk about some big things as well, like Mark Carney's visit to BC, spoke at the Vancouver Board of Trade, talked to the Premier. What does that look like? Did Premier Eby talk about Danielle Smith? We'll talk about that. FIFA, all of it. Stay tuned. We're ready to roll on.
UnSpun. I mean, Jody, you just basically did the show.
No, we need your take on things, George. And where would you like to start?
Let's start big and bring it in.
Prime Minister Mark Carney in town at the Vancouver Board of Trade. Bridget Anderson doing an incredible job of sitting down and really getting information out of our Prime Minister. It was a great conversation. She went way longer than she was supposed to, which was great. Anyway, but got some insights on what is in it for our province. And then the Prime Minister did to have a meeting with the Premier. What's your takeaway from what the Prime Minister had to say here?
Well, I mean, it was interesting, especially the one they did a presser at the convention center, and Carney was very loving and positive towards Eby, but behind the scenes he must be going, get this guy in line, man, come on. But we're stuck with this guy for a couple more years at least this government. They have, the likelihood that they're going to go anywhere is not very high. So we got to work with these NDPers who are against pretty much everything we want to do. So how do we make this work? So he was very positive about the relationship, but I'm guessing behind the scenes, not so much.
Right. I feel like the negotiation isn't taking place in front of us, which seems to be what Mark Carney's brand is. And with the number of deals he was talking about having made across the world, and the fact that there is investment in Canada by countries that are our allies and also those that traditionally have not been, but we've been pushed into the arms of to some degree because of the United States being upended as our most trusted trade partner. I hope, anyway, for the people who have suffered jobs-wise because of softwood lumber or, some of the tariffs that have hit hardest here in British Columbia, because there is a lot of conversation about the auto industry, and rightly so, but there's a feeling that BC sort of gets left behind. And then when ferries are like, it's free over here, and we're out here going, what about our ferries? There's those types of things that I would hope that our Premier is having conversations with the Prime Minister behind the scenes. Like, come on.
The guy, Eby and the NDP are living 5 years behind the times. Get with the program. The world has changed. We're in a whole bunch of trouble right now. You've been leading this province since 2017 and terribly at that. Our financial situation is terrible. They haven't approved or put any kind of big projects of any kind. They can't take credit for anything really besides a bridge in New Westminster. So here we have the federal government saying, we got to build stuff. We got to make some big projects and we're going to help you do that. And here we have a provincial government, NDP government, who clearly is opposed to this because of their philosophical issues that they have within their own party. They are not in step with I don't think the people of this province, the majority of people in this province who have changed. It's because of Trump and what's been going on down there. We need to look at our country as a whole and also fight for our province. But hey, if you want to fight for the province, look at the financial picture and start getting your house in order. And that means building stuff and start spending some money that actually leads to jobs and growth in our and from the many things that we have in our province, which are mostly resources. I'm sorry, you're not going to make your money off of tourism alone, and we'll get to that later. But it's just they're living in the past, and they need to get with it. And I don't get it why they don't. It's ridiculous, and it must be so frustrating it's frustrating to me. I can't imagine if you're Mark Carney.
There are a couple of things that I think is being done if we take the spin out of it, like the electrification grid and connecting BC to the Yukon, and there are some things that are moving forward. There are some mining projects that are a big deal that were otherwise kind of, pause, environmental, but now it's like, okay, no, we're moving on it. So really at the root of the, I don't know, conflict is too much of a word, I think, but where the rubber hits the road in the relationship between the BC government and the federal government steers through Alberta, right? Like Danielle Smith, what David Eby, our premier, has been saying is that Danielle Smith is being rewarded for bad behavior, because basically she's like, we're doing a pipeline to BC, or to the BC coast. We're going to get our resources through BC. And David Eby was like, what are you talking about? You haven't even talked to me, which is how it went down. Like, there's that. And then Mark Carney goes and meets with Danielle Smith, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do this MOU. And yeah, we're going to get this happen. And David Eby's like, you're going to need to talk to us. So I think there's some conversation around that being frustrating. But like you just said, I'm one of those people who maybe was like, environmentally, this doesn't make sense to put that pipeline, the twinning of that bitumen pipeline through to the place that is the most difficult port to navigate for ships. There is a reason why there's a sort of an uproar of people around.
Why talk to a... Yeah, but why talk to a guy that you know the answer to? I mean, it's a waste of time.
Where I was going with was, is it the only place it can go? Is it the only spot, the most strategically difficult inland waters we can use? Like, why? And I think that's what the Prime Minister was saying, is we need to come to the table with solutions, not more reasons to not do things, right? Like, there's been enough of that. And I think that is the more centrist, conservative leaning answer. Because to your point that you've said day in and day out since Donald Trump decided to upend the world in trade, I can't remember what he tagged it, whatever the day was last April, a year ago. We need to change the way we think about our natural resources getting to a global market. Like, it was super convenient just to send it all down south of the border. But then you also pointed out, again, I'm telling you, you're right. Shoot. There's so much tanker traffic up and down the coast at all times. Why is there such pushback on twinning an existing pipeline to get our natural resources to Japan and South Korea and even China and, the Asian nations? Like,
well, there's a lot of things to unpack there. First of all, I don't think that they want to talk to Eby because there's no point, because they know where he stands on the issue and know he's probably not going to budge. They don't need to talk to him, frankly, because they probably know they have the majority of the First Nations support and the people's support in the North for anything they want to do up there. So they know they can probably push through most things on the agenda. I got attacked for saying that, being supportive of Alberta, who's going to benefit the most from this money and this building as opposed to BC. And I think that's naive and short-sighted. This is not about just pipelines from Alberta. This is about building things that in multiple levels that will help BC and Alberta. And there is benefits financially. We have the biggest ports in Canada in the north and in Vancouver. So that's our biggest moneymaker, our biggest taxpayer in Vancouver is the port. So, come on.
Who is
Come
attacking you?
Come at me. Oh, just
Who's
people.
attacking you? Who do I need to
anyways,
come for?
Anyway,
I'll
so
protect
the
you, George.
the other thing is that, and then the fact that there are deep ports on the coast, but this is an issue. These are environmentalists against any kind of oil infrastructure. And so it doesn't matter, who are funded by big American corporations like Hewlett-Packard and things like that. These companies, there is an intentional funding structure to stop pipelines in Canada, not because, and they fund these environmental groups. We've talked about this in the past. There's books about this, but there's lots of research that shows that a lot of these environmental groups are supported by foundations that are funded by groups that don't want Canada to be successful in this, because it hurts America.
Yeah.
So it feeds into Trump's narrative about that sort of nationalistic approach to America that he talks about. So this, so, EB in the environment side, there's the whole ethical oil debate that Canada has an ethical oil process. Is it better to send oil on a train to Prince Rupert and to Kitimat? I don't think so. Sure, and the tanker issue has been solved, there's always risk,
Double
but there's way more risk of a
Yep.
train crashing
Yes.
than a pipeline and a ship. I mean, come on, let's look at the data here. So this is really about environmentalists who don't want zero extraction of any resources in our country. That's the only way they can go, and yet they still want free healthcare, and they want to have all their stuff that they have in this prosperous economy that we live in, that magically it grows by some, because money grows on trees in their mind. That's the problem, and EB's in that sector. He's eating their ice cream, whatever the analogy is.
So
My new analogy, my new metaphor.
You mentioned Alberta, and you mentioned a little bit of Trump there, and the Trumpier side of Alberta wants to be independent, wants to separate from Canada. Alberta independence referendum this fall. How do you think that plays into, if at all?
It's just leverage. It's just leverage. It's a good tool for Danielle Smith. She understands how the economy works. I think, okay, sure, maybe people are she's supportive of, and that argument about separation has been around since I was a kid, for Alberta and for BC. And I think that Carney is making the right moves in that, how do we help Alberta be prosperous and remove a lot of these obstacles? That's all they're really asking. And I think that separatist argument will dissipate and go away. There's always going to be that there. That my dad, if you give me every Canadian BC $1 million to separate or become American, really? I mean, I don't think most Canadians feel that way, including many in Alberta. So it's just not. And we've already heard from the First Nations in Alberta that it's a no-go. So whatever. It's just a leverage. It's just a tool.
Okay, let's move to FIFA, the FIFA World Cup, obviously a big topic and a big spend for taxpayers in Canada. The $1 billion for the games that Canada is getting out of this North American World Cup that includes Mexico, the United States, and Canada. A new report out today that Vancouver taxpayers that will be on the hook for $578 million for the 7 matches that will be played here. Your thoughts?
Bob Mackin must be so happy to see some numbers in advance of the event. Because he's always trying to get to the bottom of, he's a reporter here, for those who don't know him. He loves to talk about how the Olympics and FIFA are money pits. So, it's ridiculous, to be honest. And I think that, you know how I feel about sports. It just doesn't, I'm not get excited about it. But the Olympics were fun, and maybe this will be fun. Is it $87 million a day fun? I don't know. And does Vancouver really need its profile raised in the world? Not for that price. And in fact, we're learning now that all these hotels that were trying to gouge so many people in coming are seeing a massive decline overall for the entire period of time starting already, because people are going, I'm not going to Vancouver. It's way too expensive because of the stupid World Cup. It's like I can't sign any positive.
World Cup is too far.
Okay, you're right. Sorry, everybody. That's right. I took it too far. I mean the World Cup because it's creating more negatives at this point, but I'm sure it'll be fun, and I'll be attending things and doing my fun things. But it's like, I guess my frustration is this organization is so, because I was there in council, they brought it to us in council. They wanted the staff who presented us when I was there in 2017. They were saying, this is great. It's going to be great for the city. The province was already sort of saying no. We looked at the numbers for the stadium, putting in grass.
John Horgan said no.
He said no, and we supported that to a certain degree. We were kind of sad as a council, and staff were really sad because they thought it'd be amazing.
But it's a blank check. Listen, as much as you don't love the sports, I do. And I look at the Olympics, amateur sport, so many events. Unbelievable. Is the IOC rainbows and unicorns? No. Was it really expensive? Yes. But I saw massive infrastructure post-Olympic Games that has really, truly helped our province. I think they're, just look at the Sea to Sky Highway alone. I mean,
Yep.
and the transit and it really was special. It was expensive and it was special. And on the profile piece, as you said, I don't think Vancouver needs one more bit of PR. We are amazing. The world's coming here, and many are staying because it's so great, which makes it more unaffordable for many. So then you go to FIFA, and what are we getting out of this? Like, what it's going to be amazing in terms of like the profile of player that will come here, even though we're not getting any of the marquee games. But what we're getting out of it, that what we're being left behind with, is a BC Place stadium that has been refurbished immensely, like hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on a building that's a bit of a dinosaur, certainly a money pit, and it's got grass growing in it that we won't be keeping after the fact. We can't grow grass in BC Place, but you have to have grass for these games to be played on. And then there has to be practice facilities that are grass, that are a certain level, that have been closed for the last year in preparation for. So we starved some of the sport. Our BC Sports Hall of Fame is closed. It was in BC Place. Everything now is in storage. Our Hall of Fame showcasing great people historically in sport in this province is in a closet right now because FIFA. Like, we have dropped the ball. Oh, sorry, punny. I've been watching too much Ron McLean. I know. But these things are more than frustrating. They're infuriating. And I know that we kind of felt going into 2010 that it's going to be crazy downtown. Nobody's going to be able to move around, and you're not going to be able to park your car or drive your car. And then it happened, and everybody took transit, and it was amazing. So I will be prepared to admit I was wrong if FIFA is this magical thing that brings everybody together like the Olympics, but it kind of feels like an exclusive event that locals can't get into. The fact that part of the deal to spend $578 million on 7 games didn't include a Kama Aina ticket price, like you live here, show you live here, and you get first dibs, or you get, face value or whatever.
Right.
There could have been something.
Yeah,
right?
And I think your point with the Olympics, the other thing regarding the Olympics, you think about the build-up, look how many gold medals we got. You know why we got that? Because for years we were so focused on the Olympics coming, and then we got to own the podium. And so that, and the funding that went to youth sport for years and years and years, which stopped after the Olympics, and then we see the results of that from follow-up Olympics. It's that is the kind of stuff that makes sense. Infrastructure, youth sport, we're investing in stuff that's long-term, will have a positive impact. I don't see much of that with the World Cup. Sorry, everybody.
Well, FIFA needs to leave a legacy that leaves money for the growth of sport that it will spark in this country. Like, that's the thing. We're going to inspire a bunch of kids who are going to want to play and do. And then what? The government's not supporting our, kids sport, Sport BC, the ones that are like the places and spaces that the people that can't afford to enroll their kids in some swanky, fancy private club situation. Like,
how many soccer fields can you build for $87 million? I mean,
578.
You could build so many soccer fields across the country. So at least, this is interesting because, that's the thing that they could have done. Say, FIFA, the World Cup's coming, and we're going to build 200 or 500 soccer fields across Canada, and we're going to invest in youth soccer and all that stuff. It's kind of like I argued about the reason for the pool thing. Remember I said that? And did you see what happened this week in council about the pools and youth, and they're going to fund some kids' swimming classes and stuff in the city?
Did I see, George?
Wonder where they got that idea from.
Right?
UnSpun. Listening to UnSpun, are you? But it was not as good as our idea. Our idea was way better. To build full-length pools, at least 3 to 5 of them in the city, and by 2030, I don't know how many years it takes, 35, we will have 10 gold Olympic swimmers. Yeah. I'm going to pretend like I know sports.
And then bring those teams that want to train in a beautiful place that has the facilities. I mean, you could bring teams from all over the globe that could train here.
Imagine.
Our Canadian
Florida does that with tennis, right?
Of course they do. But the infrastructure, I'm going to get to my speaking at council at Kitzbühel at the end. So even if we have to go over, I will tell my little story of what happened there, because I think it's important that we go to municipal politics on other topics, because is the natural gas debate back?
They're bringing it back, baby. So was it 2 years ago? They brought a motion forward. When I was on council, they said, no more natural gas in Vancouver. I'm like, what? And I, of course, did not support that idea, thinking, no, dumb. So then the last council, the ABC brought it back to reverse this, and their own caucus betrayed them. They had two, I think, that voted to not allow natural gas in Vancouver. So they lost the vote. Get your caucus in order, dudes. So now, which officially you're not allowed to bring back the same motion twice in a term. So a new council could bring it back, but by that point it'll be too late. So officially, you can't bring back the same motion that was already debated. It's just not allowed. So what they've done is they've fitted it into an issue of affordability. And I think Francis Beulah posted, I mean, Francis, you should get this. This is, talk about spin. This is they found a workaround in the bylaws to raise the issue that the gas is as part of the affordability issue that we face in the city. By the way, rent's gone down by 20% in the last year, but let's not talk about that. And there's lots of vacancies in the city, but let's not talk about that. Affordability is getting whatever. Anyways, affordability is the argument, and it's a different set of regulations. Oh, just plop in this whole gas thing, temporarily, because, affordability. And so it's just a package of things that they'll pass, which I'm sure, surprise, surprise, they'll have their caucus whipped to support it, and they will vote.
And Mark Carney, so the federal impacts and municipal government together, because I believe it was last week that the Prime Minister was speaking about environmental issues and what does and does not constitute a fossil fuel for his government, because we need to get our natural resources to market. He kind of gave the liquefied natural gas, we need to sell that. We have lots of that. We're going to sell that. So, we're not digging for coal, but this is one of our things that we are going to continue on our green energy plan that will be involved in it. It was okay, it's recategorized, I think was the word. I'm not 100% sure.
Let's not talk about... We're not talking about greenhouse gas emissions anymore. We're talking about whether something is from a dinosaur or not. I don't know. It's okay, whatever.
I know, it's really interesting.
You cut a tree down, you grow a new tree, you dig stuff out of the ground, it's gone forever or whatever. But how much of it do we have? But also plan for the future. We talked about China last week being the most productive in building the infrastructure that is green versus anywhere else in the world. Because they're going, these things aren't around forever. We need to find alternatives. And also, we don't want to be beholden to other governments. And that's what we should be focusing on. But guess what we need to do that? Money. And guess how we get money in Canada, as I've said before. And then you build the infrastructure that frees us from that.
Back to, it's primarily Vancouver City Hall, because when we're talking about SROs and some real issues that have just come up with regard to firefighters saying enough is enough on being first on the scene to medical calls. Because paramedics are unavailable, busy, understaffed. I don't even know which column A, column B, all of the above it is. But firefighters are saying we just cannot manage these calls where we're, two fire halls or engines arrive at one 911 call, health emergency, and then they stand there and wait.
Well, yeah, they do some stuff. I've done it. I don't know if you've ever called for emergency. They all show up. Yeah, and they show up and they do some because Amanda passed out once. They did some stuff. Yeah,
oxygen and whatnot.
Yeah.
They have the ability to do that, but most of the calls they're talking about are in the red zone, they call it.
Yes, and it's Fire Hall 2. And this was an issue when I was on council as well, where and at that time, and I'm pretty sure they still have it, where they rotate the firefighters out of there. I think they do 100 days, and then they are rotated to a different location because it's so traumatic to be in that fire station. But now they're saying we can't do this anymore. But this is a game of, I don't know if anybody ever saw Da Vinci City Hall, which was based on the time that of that time. Anyways, the basic theme in that TV show was firefighters versus the ambulance guys. It's the province versus the city. And this is still the issue. This is what the firefighters are really saying. This is not our job. So you, the province, need to start funding. And that's why the union, I noticed, is sort of supportive, saying to the firefighters, yeah, you're right. You know, we should be doing this. Because, of course, employ more get more ambulances, get more hospitals, get more emergency centers. This is the role of a health practitioner, not a firefighter. I mean,
build out from that fire hall that has to be rotated like that because of the trauma of it, and actually put the resources in there with the staff needed to respond to the red alerts that come from that area. And it's like, continuing to do the same thing that isn't working is literally the definition of insanity, right? Like, and we're seeing that with the SRO downtown. Did you see that Global story?
Yeah. So two people won't move out of this SRO downtown, the downtown east side, and so they're paying $270,000 a month to house them. Something like that.
Unbelievable. Like, how has this become our reality? And in the news story, you can watch it at Global News, to give credit to the reporter, and they have the people that are the two people, like, on camera, walking to their rooms in the SRO. It's like, can we not find them another place to live that doesn't cost $225,000 a month?
My guess is they don't want to leave. We had the same issue with a lot of the tents. People did not want to leave their tents because they didn't feel safe in these SROs. The decision to shut down this SRO was because it was being mismanaged by the owners of the building who were maintaining it, not the people who are managing the facilities. So, which is weird that these two are so separated. But this is an issue.
Who managed that SRO on behalf of whatever the owners, because trying to make it to some level of standard, have now stepped out of the business of doing that, but they're still on the hook of the, like, it's all been cleared out except for these two, is my understanding.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that in modern day society there isn't some activation that can give the supports needed, because it can't be a good place or space for these people health-wise. Like, health-wise, they're dirty, they're not heated, they're not air conditioned, there's rodent problems, there's bug problems.
Yes, they shouldn't be in there. But what do they do?
Like,
yes, and so many of them are. And so the challenge I'm guessing they have is these people have mental health care issues. They are unwilling to leave, I'm assuming. And you can't, how would you drag them out? This is the ultimate dilemma, right? So this is a tough one. But it comes back to, why have we let how did we get to this point where these buildings are in such terrible shape that they get to the point where you have to basically evict people because the building hasn't been taken care of? There are so many levels of problem here, whether it's the owner of the building, whether it's the province not doing its job, whether it's the city not doing its job. Like, how many balls were dropped in this over the many, many years that this SRO has been operating? And believe me, I've had these conversations in council when I was there, and you're trying to shut. It's really hard. The legal process for shutting down an SRO and dealing with these owners is so complicated, and it's unbelievable.
Therein lies my question. For if anybody watching, listening, UnSpun can explain, if we were to follow that $225,000 a month, where would it end up? Who's going, yes, that's how much it costs. Where does it go?
Well, I think it's the whole building, right? So because there's two renters in there, because there's two people in there, they're having to pay the entire rent for the whole building. And so the province has to pay that whole rent. That's basic. And so we're paying the rent for a building that used to have 60 or 80 people for two.
The owners who didn't keep it up to standard. So they're the people making that kind of money, and they could plan next month to raise the rent. Like,
right. Or
it's crazy.
Maybe they'll fix up those two units so those people never want to leave.
I got 90 seconds to tell you about my kids' pool at council.
All right. I can't believe you did this, but okay.
You can't believe I did it? Why?
Well, I mean, just like the torture that you went through.
Oh, it really was a good lesson in why I will never run for any public office, because there's so much time wasted in the pomp and circumstance of a council meeting, but I learned a lot. Anyway, I was supposed to speak it, right off the top, first motion. So I'm on the phone. My mom needed me in the morning. I had intended to go in council, but I had to do it over the phone. And I'm so glad I did. Because it was 4 hours of waiting on the phone. It ended up being
like phone, like holding the phone up. How long, like this?
Phone.
Wow, not Zoom. Jeez.
No. I did send in this picture for those who watch. That's me.
Nice.
And I shouldn't actually show these two.
Some random.
I didn't ask them, but that's me and Brady. So Brady learned to swim in Kitts Pool. And that little boy with the soother in his mouth is now 6'3" and 18. But he learned to swim there, and that's me being a mom at the pool with a group of people. And I think there's an entire generation missing out on that. So that's where my focus was. The motion that the mayor had put on the table was the Joe Forte's motion that was swimming is a life skill. Kids between the age of 3 and 12 should have free access to swimming lessons and Vancouver's pools. It should cost nothing for kids to use pools.
Right.
Is the motion. And also other things in the motion, restore Kitts Pool to pre-COVID, get rid of the sessions, get rid of the closure crossovers, whatever, get rid of the reservation service, open the pool.
Stripes.
I mean, where did he get the idea? So I said, I'm in support of this, and here's why. And it's not about lifeguards, and the capacity is low, and all the things I've said here a million times. So I won't reiterate my 3-minute speech, because you only get 3 minutes. It was so interesting to me, though, George. There were 10 speakers on this. The first speaker out of the gate, Tom Digby, who was so indignant. He was like,
Commissioner.
All the mayor has to do, Commissioner of the Park Board.
So they get, just so you know, just so people know, they get a priority over the public, so if they're there to speak, they get to go first.
So he got to go first, and he made a fool of himself because I went second. And he was like, all the mayor has to do is pick up the phone and call me. And when we put this whole Kitts Pool thing to bed, it was back in March, and nobody showed up to our meeting, which was 10 p.m. on a Wednesday in Stanley Park. Like, okay, nobody's coming to the park board meetings because you guys are just sitting around yelling at the people who come in there. I listened to that meeting, though, live, and it was ridiculous. And the staff information that was brought forward was totally based on fiction. And so then I did my little speech, and then the 3 speakers after me all reiterated basically what I had said.
Interesting.
I had to take my child to New Westminster to get swimming lessons because there were none available in Vancouver, and I couldn't get into Kitts Pool. Second was like, I had to go to Richmond, and I haven't been able to get into Kitts Pool for years because of the reservation system. And the next one, same. And then the next speaker after that, Park Board Chair Laura Christensen, who reiterated that nobody needs Kitts Pool, and we've had no complaints about it. Nobody's been turned away. All false. And she basically was like, as they like to say at the park board, I'm a lone wolf. I'm just using my my voice to get the pool open. Yes, I am, but I'm doing it on behalf of thousands of people who stop me on the street every day.
Is she anti-democratic?
No, she just wants to live with her blinders on, and she does not want West Side people to have nice things. She's literally been caught saying that. And I'm like, we already paid for the pool, open the pool. And this debate about how much the pool is going to cost to fix for 75 years, it's not filled right now. Open the pool. Open the pool. So it was interesting when they were saying it's a big nothing burger, but the two of them sat on hold for 4 hours.
What?
To say that. I love that.
That's crazy. That's amazing. Amazing.
And the motion passed.
It did. But what does it happen? So here's the thing. I think, Jody, you need to, at the election in October, which I hope all these people that are on that park board get the boot that are so useless. You should do an endorsement list of the people that you know align on the Kitts issue, and let people know who is going to be the right kind of commissioner, because I think the people in the city are completely pissed off at this. Maybe, and I think they were probably supportive of removing the park board, but that didn't fly. But this election will be very interesting to see what happens. I think they'll all get the boot. All those people who are being so useless.
I have never used my voice as an endorsement voice, other than with Mark Carney, because I felt that election was so important for Canadians, and that
yeah, but you're not going to choose a party. You'll choose the one issue.
No, the people. This is okay. Anybody thinking of running for park board, get in touch with me. And if you publicly proclaim and put in writing for me that you will fully open Kit's Pool, I will make sure that you are on my endorsement list. Great idea,
Nice.
George. Perfect way to end off this sitcast. I feel like we're finding our groove. Did we go over? Yes, we did. We're almost 5 minutes over. Sorry, I had to fit in the pool this time. Make sure you go to sitcamedia.ca. There's a little tab of sitcasts. That's where you find UnSpun podcast. Of course, you'll find us pushing it out on our socials, right? On Twitter, this man is at George underscore Affleck, at George underscore Affleck. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance. You're going to see a lot of pool content on there right now. A lot of pool content. Anyways, we love that you're watching and listening and sharing with your friends and engaging in what matters right here on our local kitchen tables. George and I are here every Thursday. So like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and tell your friends. Did I cover it all, George?
I think so. See you next week. Bye.